Ciao, and welcome to our tour of the Roman Forum, the ancient city of Rome. Come with us. Okay, we're standing in front of the Arch of Septimius Severus, who was one of the later emperors of Rome in what we would call the period of the decline of the empire. In this arch, there's a lot of artwork describing his conquests abroad. There's a lot of reliefs that show Romans capturing slaves and barbarians, taking them back to Rome. At this point during the Roman Empire, most of Rome's money was coming from slave conquest, slave work, and foreign goods, and less so from their own domestic funds. So this is pretty representative of that.
This is called a rostrum, which is a podium where Caesar and anybody that wanted to talk to the public went up there and could be seen and heard by everyone and talked very loudly. There's also space behind it, so they could easily go up there. And it has actually been moved here from another place by Caesar. So the brown building back there, the brick building, is the Curia or the Senate. It is almost 2,000 years old, and it housed 300 senators, which ruled the whole country and voted on different things like policies. And the head of the Senate was actually the emperor. And later, after Rome kind of went down, this became a church, and that's how it's been preserved. And in 1900s, it opened to public just as a historic site and not a church anymore. But now it's closed; we can't go in. But it's pretty well preserved.
Okay, so here we are in front of the Temple of Caesar. This is where Caesar was buried after he was assassinated on the steps of the Senate. This temple was dedicated to Caesar later after his death by Augustus, and that made him the first emperor to undergo apotheosis, or to become a god, because when say the temple, he became a god in the Roman view. In a second, we'll duck back behind some of these ruins of the temple. There's a small mound of dirt, and people often leave flowers for Caesar, even now 2,000 years later. Caesar was a pretty controversial figure, but I think for many he is typified the Roman Empire. Okay, here behind these temple ruins is the mound. People are still leaving flowers for Caesar all these years later. And coins, apparently. This is one of the largest buildings still standing in the Forum, partly because it's one of the buildings that was later turned into a church, so those are more well preserved. This originally was the temple of Antoninus Pius and his wife Faustina. This was a major religious site in the Forum. People would pay Roman priests to come, sacrifice animals, do augury to please the gods and goddesses, or to see what their fortune might be. So it is now not very colorful, right? It's mostly white, but in the time of the Roman Forum, it would have been incredibly colorful, gilded, bronzed, painted.
Okay, this one is actually one of my favorites, and it's very interesting. It's called the Temple of Vesta, and it used to be a full circle, and now just the remains are one side of it. And the story is there used to be a fire inside it, always burning, and that fire is believed to be symbol of family and livelihood of Rome. And they believed as long as that fire was alive, Rome could go on. So they had six people were called Vestal Virgins, taking care of that fire, attending that fire. They used to live near this temple, and they are very respected people. And it's also in this. They're so respected. Keep going. They even had a box in a coliseum near the emperor, and they were chosen for periods of 30 years. And their only mission was to take care of this fire that had to go on. And their house was right behind it, and they were basically their only job was to take care of the fire.
So along here you can see kind of the footprint, so to speak, of the temple. It's pretty small. Because it was circular, it's pretty well contained here. Here we are in the residences of the Vestal Virgins. So this is located behind the Temple of Vesta. So they were pretty close to their workplace. And we can see that it's a big atrium with 2 pools in it. And then around it are the living quarters, different little apartment type things, right? We also have statues of some of the most venerated Vestal Virgins. So part of the deal when you were a Vestal Virgin was that you served the term for 30 years. You were chosen at the age of 10 or before the age of 10. If you served faithfully and you did all that you were supposed to do, at the end of that term, you were able to marry, and you're given a sizable dowry to live for the rest of your life. So these women are great examples of that. These are women who did their job well and were very venerated. There are other Vestal Virgins, however, who, if they broke their vow of chastity, they would be buried alive as punishment, and that happened often. So this is where they lived. Pretty nice central living center of Rome, right close to work. Beautiful.
Oh, good. So we are at the houses of the Vestal Virgins, and we are walking towards the next landmark, which is that one. That is called the Arch of Constantine, if I remember correctly. And for the next 2 minutes, probably, we're going to walk through the garden by the statues to that arch. So we're just going to show you what it looks like and explore. So if you want to jump into the next one, skip the video 2 minutes, not be with us. Not sure what these walls are exactly. Probably like some house and hallways. They're kind of spooky. Wait, it's not an arch, it's Basilica of Constantine. So I said it's an Ark of Constantine. It's Basilica. What does Basilica mean?
A religious place of the church.
Well, I'm not surprised.
There is an Arch of Constantine. That makes it feel better.
It's a Basilica.
But this is not.
This one is a Basilica. Alright, here it is.
Okay, here we are at the Basilica of Constantine. This is an absolutely massive building in almost the heart of the Roman Forum. You can see behind me 3 large arches. They are huge, but you have to understand that that is just one side of the basilica. So if you could expand it out in your mind, it's just an absolutely massive, massive building. It is the Basilica of Constantine, who's a pretty massive figure in Roman history, so it makes sense. And this was a building that was used for both religious purposes, but also was the legal center of the Roman city. So people would come here to settle their inheritances, pay their debts, etc. Just an absolutely huge building, almost impossible to fully imagine what it looks like. And then to imagine if you were, let's say, visiting Rome from a, farm village, seeing a building of this size would be just incredible. All right, that was our tour of the Roman Forum. Those were the highlights. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, let us know what you think. What was your favorite part? And leave us some comments.